I bought myself a kimono and now I just wear it all the time. And I feel beautiful. Hey Spuds, how's it going? Welcome back to another video. I may be less animated in this video because I cricked my neck the other day and it's much better than it was because I couldn't even move my head 2 days ago, but it still hurts. It's very weird. I want it to go away. Anyway, that's not what today's video is about. Today's video is about LGBT plus education in schools and the fact that not everybody agrees with that education happening. So this has been a thing for a while where we have one side, which is the side I'm on, where there is a push for increased education in schools and for young kids about LGBT plus people and the community and all of that stuff, and just raising awareness and introducing kids to the topic in very kid-safe ways through books. There is nothing weird or dodgy happening, it's just saying, hey, people can be gay, people can be trans, people can be other sexualities, and teaching kids that people can be LGBT+. It's not trying to make them gay or trans or anything. But then you have the other side that is now much more loudly than before, because I guess they need to do it to be heard now, pushing back against it and saying that this isn't education, this is indoctrination. I think I said that right. And basically this type of education in schools is going to increase the number of people who are LGBT+ because young kids will get very confused, and when hearing a book that says that two male penguins can be in a relationship together, they will then think that they are gay. Or maybe they might think they're a penguin, I don't know. Is that how far we're going with this? A recent thing that happened was some protests outside of primary schools in Birmingham where some parents were really against their children being taught about LGBT plus topics. And from this, more debate has arisen, and so has a wonderfully controversial Twitter page, which so far has blocked hundreds, if not more, LGBT plus people on Twitter, including myself. I've had to use a friend's profile to view it. Curiosity got the better of me. It's not really worth it. It's very empty. There's not actually that much on it, and what is on it doesn't really make much sense, isn't arguing very good points, so it's just not worth it. But basically, if you're on Twitter and you're LGBT plus and you haven't been blocked by them, are you really LGBT plus? Anyway, this account is called Questioning LGBT Education, and it says what it does on the tin really. It's just a narrow-minded hate page that doesn't make a huge amount of sense or have strong arguments at all, that basically says how wrong it is to teach kids about LGBT plus people. And what it's doing is just creating one smallish echo chamber filled with people that agree with them. By blocking everybody that may disagree with their viewpoint, they are just bringing in all the people that do agree. And I guess in one sense that makes them feel like they're making progress. I don't know. But if you have to make progress by ignoring the voices of literally thousands of people, then that's not really progress, and it does not mean that you have a large amount of support. So whoever is running this page thinks that LGBT plus education in schools is indoctrination. That's the word they use. It seems to be becoming a trendy term, just as trans lobbyists and trans agenda and LGBT plus agenda is becoming trendy, or is trendy. It's just a thing. People like saying it and it doesn't really make sense. I looked up the definition of indoctrination, and it's basically the teaching of particular beliefs with the aim that they will reject other beliefs. Synonyms apparently include brainwashing, but also teaching. So I don't really know what to make of that, but the first synonym was brainwashing, and people have compared it to brainwashing. Effectively, I think there's two ways to interpret the belief that LGBT plus education for kids is indoctrination. Number one being that the purpose of educating kids about LGBT plus people is to make more people LGBT plus, and there's some big recruitment drive. It sounds stupid to even say it out loud. And number two, it will just lead to an exponential growth in acceptance from kids who will then become accepting adults, even if they're not LGBT plus themselves. The second one makes more sense to me and is where we should be going, so I don't think that that is what is meant. I think what is meant is that, and also some of the tweets on this page imply that what is meant by that is that it's some kind of recruitment drive, and that there will be an explosion of kids thinking and identifying as LGBT plus when they wouldn't have before if they'd never learnt about it. That's impossible. Number one is impossible. You literally could not think yourself to be a different gender or a different sexuality if that's not what you are. I never learnt about being transgender in school. I didn't even know what the term meant until I was 16 years old. I didn't hear it anywhere else either. School, online, TV, whatever. And it was TV that I eventually found the term and knew that it was me, because because that's how I feel. If it hadn't been me, then I would have watched the documentary, known what trans meant, and carried on with my non-trans life. But I'm trans, so... But I never learnt about it in school. I never learned LGBT plus stuff in school, and now, lo and behold, I am 2 of those letters. Yes, I am a greedy bacon tomato. If the logic were that if you learnt about LGBT plus, then you would become it, then everybody I went to school with should be straight and cis. But they're not, because that's not how it works. But I don't want to make assumptions. It could be that they just have a belief and a fear that too many people will accept being LGBT+, or it could be a combination of the both. If option 2 is part of it, then I really think this is coming from a place of fear. Although now that I'm saying that out loud, I just think all of this is coming from a place of fear. It's scared of the unknown, it's scared of something that you don't understand, and not allowing yourself to try and understand that or be open-minded. This fear as well would be far less prevalent if LGBT+ education had been brought into schools a generation earlier. So I'm actually kind of looking forward to seeing what society is like in terms of LGBT+ acceptance. I messed that up. LGBT+ acceptance in the next generation. So like with my kids, how they view it and everything, because we're getting more and more open and accepting, not just every generation or decade, but like every few years we're making progress. So it's exciting to see where we're headed. But I think other indications that this is more point number 1 in terms of like them being scared that education is going to turn kids gay or trans, etc. Because they really do seem to think that educating kids on the topic is confusing them into queer identities. Their words. And the use of quoting 10% of your pupils now belong to us is in reference from a video clip where it was stated that 10% of the population identifies in some way as LGBT+. Therefore, by kind of elimination, it would be likely that 10% of pupils in school also fall within the LGBT+ community. There's no language around belonging or happiness over that. It's used as a fact to show that we need to increase awareness of this and increase education and help that 10% feel accepted within society and by their peers and by their teachers. They also like to shout about certain things that have happened and certain people who were very vocally against the education or acceptance of LGBT+ topics, community, people within schools and all of this stuff, and gave their support to a vicar who was a governor of a school but resigned when his viewpoint of not accepting a trans pupil was kind of shut down and he was not allowed to have a say on whether that child was able to socially transition in the school environment. And he even said that children are being sacrificed at the altar of trans ideology. Now please, can somebody tell me what that means?
There wasn't the opportunity for disagreement. We couldn't communicate with parents, we couldn't discuss this as governors, we couldn't form procedure. We couldn't consider any of the practical issues. We just had to go ahead as we were told. What deeply concerns me is that within a primary school environment, without the information that we need for due diligence as governors, for the safeguarding of this child and the safeguarding of other children, we're being told we must go down a particular route. We're being kept blind.
Basically, from that clip, what I gathered is that he's annoyed that he couldn't have a say or stop it from happening. When, as an outside person, if the child is transgender and their parents are supporting their social transition and allowing them to be happy and be themselves, then why is it anybody else's concern? Schools should be changing the pronoun and the name they use for children who are socially transitioning within the school environment. If it goes against his personal beliefs, then that's his personal beliefs. But it's not his place to say whether it can or cannot happen, because that's that child and that child's parents. That's their thing. Anyway, not his decision, and I think it's a good thing. I think it's great that LGBT+ education is happening in schools. I wish it had been in place when I was at school. It would have saved me a lot of confusion. But now that it is in place, I'm sure that it will save a lot of people a lot of confusion and a lot of time spent figuring out what all these terms even mean and what fits them, because they're being taught about it and they have the information to understand themselves better from an earlier age. And to those who aren't LGBT+, it's not going to make them LGBT+, it's just likely to make them more accepting. Personally, pages like this, they don't annoy me, they don't even frustrate me. I find it kind of funny that a page like this has been set up. I think it actually symbolizes progress, which might sound really weird, but hear me out. What I mean by that is if we weren't making this progress in LGBT plus acceptance and awareness, then there would be no need for people who were against it to speak up. The fact that we are hearing people speak out about it and argue against LGBT plus people louder and louder just means that acceptance and awareness is gaining more and more momentum, which it should be. We now have education in schools, and I'm pretty sure that however loud this Twitter page decides to shout, or however many LGBT plus people they decide to block, we will still have that education in those schools, and they're just gonna get even more mad about it, which is why I'm not mad at them. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. I always like discussing these types of topics. I think it's good to explore different viewpoints, and I just like to talk about how just fundamentally incorrect, and not just in terms of my opinion, but just in terms of like science. And if these pages keep getting created without anybody talking against them or explaining why it's wrong, or just explaining a different side of the kind of story or the narrative, then there will be some people who see pages like that and see arguments that they put forward and think that it is the only correct viewpoint, or think that it is the correct viewpoint. So just having the kind of counter opinion to stuff like that is good in my opinion. So hello, that's why I made this video. Yeah. Thank you for watching. If you did like it, think about giving it a thumbs up and subscribing, or maybe just give a thumbs up for the kimono alone, because that's how fabulous it is. As always, I'll see you next time. Much love, guys. Bye. I sound like a sheep. Bye. Bye. Bye.